Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round number 6 of the SRS GT3 series for 90 minutes of Mount Panorama for the Tier 1 division here today. I am your host and commentator for today's race, SD_RDZ, and today we're having, since it's the third round, so every third, sixth, and the final round, we have a 90-minute race. That's right, we are racing 90 minutes here at the dawn at the dusk conditions of one of the most challenging circuits on the whole SRS GT3 calendar at the hands of Mount Panorama in the Bathurst state of Australia. And so now we are taking a look down at the field where we have a guest appearance in the hands of the number 34 Lexus RCF GT3 entry of SDM Carbon R. That is with the Sidewinder Racing by SDM entry, and that car, the hometown hero, the hometown hero, Carbon R, an Australian, taking part in this one-off appearance, and he'll be looking to be very much up the field here today. Currently, he's the fastest man on track with a 2:01.311 at the moment, and then we got ourselves the man on the championship charge, SMM Palmer, winning his first round of the season last time out at the very difficult conditions of Suzuka. While everyone behind him was kind of having their own race in a bit of a pity, Palmer kept his nose clean, kept it on the track, and converted that into a race win, getting closer to the championship lead. And he'll want to extend that going forward. Only 15,000 separate himself and Carbon R just ahead, where he's got a 2:01.326, and he's going to try and get ahead of that number 34 entry. Then you've got the 66 of SDM Viper, who unfortunately retired from Suzuka last time out, so he'll be trying to make up some lost ground when he can, and so hopefully he can get some work done in that Mercedes AMG GT3 chassis, and it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out for this driver right here today. Then you've got the 77 of SMM Ure for the SciMax Motorworks crew. Of course, the Audi Sport Team SciMax crew, of course, didn't have a particularly great race out last time by, but a podium is what they could be able to walk away. Of course, a fourth place finish for Ure after a spin at one of the most demanding corners that you could expect to see at the Mount Panorama circuit. But hopefully he can try and get something going here today at the Mount Panorama circuit. Then you've got the 95 of Swift, who got his first podium of the season last time out at Suzuka, and hopefully he can carry that momentum as he's just clipped that right side wall, almost doing it again this next corner later. These Audis are very, very well designed for this course, and they could tackle it very, very well, but it's going to be those long straightaways that will probably be the breaking point, but hopefully they can keep their momentum up in the mountain section here today. Then you've got the, Then you've got the number 78 of Tice and the second Mercedes for the SciMax Junior team here today with a 2:02.5. Of course, 1.2 seconds off of the top time that is presented by Carbon R in the Lexus, but hopefully he can get himself a bit more up the field here today. And then you got the number 11 of Splash in the Falcon Motorsports by SDM entry. He kind of had a shaky start, kind of had a shaky on and off, up and down season, but right now hopefully he can try and rebound. He's just gone faster to a 2:02.5, but as you can see there, how much he's just pushing to try and get any bit closer to the top of the times. So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes out. Then you've got the Team Simpat Racing crew, who have been in absolutely fine form, and I would say fine form, but except Suzuka had that very, very costly spin. I think that was kind of where the win was thrown away from T5 Black, but the championship leader in absolutely fine form. He's not the best in qualifying, but when you get on the race pace, he is one heck of a man to keep an eye on, and he'll be looking to be very quick here today. Then you've got the 7 of James in the pit lane, as well as the 24, and they haven't set any particular laps just yet. I think they're waiting for qualifying to get up and running. What we'll do right now is we'll take a look at the championship standings after 5 rounds of running at Suzuka. And so championship standings, there it is right there. So we've got T5 Black with that second place finish. Of course, this lead dwindled down by 5 points, but he still maintains a 19-point lead over the number 24 of Palmer. So it's 130 to 131 between those two drivers. And then Yere still holding on into third place with 88 points. Of course, he's got a win to his credit as well. And then you've got the number 95 of Swift, just not even that far behind, and 2 points down off of his teammate with 86 points. And then Tice completes the top 5 with 58 points. And then Splash in 6th place with 50 points to his credit as well. Then James Head not even far off behind as well with 48 points, 2 points off of Splash for 7th place. Then you got Cobales, who did not start last time out at Suzuka. He still holds on to 8th place with 36 points. And the JK still in 9th place. Haven't seen him since Brands Hatch. And then, excuse me, and then he hasn't started since Brands Hatch, like I said, but he's really going to try and see if he can try and make it back to the grid by the end of the season. He sits in 9th place with 34 points. KK Dot, who did not finish out at Suzuka, unfortunately retiring from that race after a nasty incident, sitting in 32 points in 10th place. And the Viper, last of the regular competitors in this championship, sitting in 11th place with only 16 points after 5 rounds of running. So like I said, just not had the best of seasons to his credit, unfortunately. So it's been a very tough one for him. And so we'll take our eyes to Tier 2, where it's Doug Barrow that is won for the 3rd time in the season at Suzuka. In Tier number 2, he leads the championship with a whopping 145 points. Just basically a landslide, over 42-point difference between himself and 2nd place Patrolhead, who did finish that race as well, I'm pretty sure, in 4th place. 2nd place, it was Hairraiser in the other Costa Racing by SDM entry with 90 points. He's only 3 points off of Patrolhead, and he'll look to try and get a little bit closer to the 2nd place and possibly get a 1-2 for the Costa Racing team in Tier 2. That team has been looking superbly strong all season long here today. And then you got Bar 27 in 4th in the standings with about 90 points to his credit. He's not even that far off of the guys ahead of him. It's actually he's level on points right now, so that's actually very interesting. Bar 27 and the Aston Martin level on points with 3rd place Hairraiser, so that's going to be an interesting battle to see what goes on in that tier, in that 2nd division. Then you got Bo Fishadara, who got his 2nd podium of the season in the McLaren 650S at Suzuka last time by, and he sits in 5th place with 78 points. And Mushalot still in 6th place, but of course he's retired from the championship. And then Superboy and B8 UTAP with 50 and 36 points apiece, sitting 7th and 8th place in the championship. And that's going to be it for these championship standings now. So what we'll do now is kind of give you an onboard look of the Bathurst Mount Panorama circuit. And so if I can find a Bathurst track map. Ah, yes, here we go. I'm not particularly sure who this gentleman is. Octane Kong, I think that's just how you say his name. So, kind of have to take a look and see how that goes out now. Ah, nice, Giant Bomb, interesting. I want to look at this image. Jesus. Nope, that's not going to work. Ah, yes, here we go. Oh, now he's left the lobby, and of course that will be the end of his career in SRS. And so now, what we'll do now is by the time we get another competitor to come on to the track, I believe that is Palmer right there. And so not a lot of people out on track at the moment are trying to get their last minute practice if they can. There is the number 46 Aston Martin of the KRT SE group in the hands of Cobales. And so he'll be taken to the track for a return after missing out at Suzuka. We should have 10 drivers taking to the grid today with some absences last time out. And I believe Tice has just improved. Someone just improved. There is the number 7 of James Head, who has made his way to the track. Purple sector for Carbon R in the number 34 Lexus. He's been looking very fine for him here today. Oh, and when I say that, he's gone into the barrier, just basically scratching it, but I think that's going to mess up his lap, unfortunately, because he's looking in very fine form here today. And at the moment, he's pacing the rest of the field with that Lexus RCF. Sharon Palmer saying, Palmer's watching with me. Welcome to the stream, Palmer family. Of course, at the end of the season, there will be trophies handed out to our Tier 2 and Tier 1 division champions, courtesy of our sponsor, Sharon Palmer. So we greatly appreciate her being generous enough and helping us make a name state by delivering the trophies to our champions. But we still got 4 more rounds to go, including the one here at Bathurst. So what we'll do now is we'll take you on board with a lap of Mount Panorama with the hands of SDM Carbon R, passing the start-finish line, going to turn number 1, Hell Corner. This is where a lot of things can go weary, especially at the Bathurst 12-hour. And now the long, long mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend. And so just keep your foot pedal to the metal. Past the mountain straight, past the supercharged batteries banner. Purple sector, hard on the brakes by the 50-meter board through Griffin's Bend. Uphill and to the right. Now to turn 3 and turn 4, very quick. Turn 3, then turn 4 is right, gets to you by the cutting. And then turn 5, and then turn 6, right by Quarry Corner. Right next to Reed Park. And then immediately into turn 7, then turn 8, then turn 9's past Reed Park, Frog Hollow, then Solomon Park for turn 9. Then turn 10, right by McPhillamy Park. There, see right there where the spectators are. Look at the sun glare that these drivers have to deal with. Turn 11, Skyline, and then through the S's. This is one of the more dangerous sections of this circuit. And this is what it's most recognizable for. It's just super close. Any mistake could be costly. Then through the dipper right here for turn 15, 16, and then 17 and 18. Then past Forest Elbow through the Falcon advertising. Then now down the long Conrad straight. Past turn 19 all the way down to turn 20. And this is where the highest that these cars are going to, and this is where the fastest section of the course is going to be. Purple sector, 2/10 up on this lap. Turn 20 now to the chase. 150-meter braking board, even close to 100 for turn 21 through the chase. And then to turn 22 towards the Armor All Bridge. Oh, and Eric just keeps it, not Carbon R, keeps it on. Then to the final corner, to Murray's Corner. Hard on the brakes. Get it to the apex, straighten it on out, and then then put the power down to get yourself a faster lap of a 2:01.179. What a great lap that was for Carbon R in that number 34 Sidewinder Racing by SDM entry. And that is a lap of Mount Panorama with the hometown hero at the hands of Carbon R. And so now we're just about, and he's actually going faster, so we might as well keep our eyes on Carbon R for another lap. Oh, freaking dual backfires there through the side exhaust right there. Very satisfying seeing, very easy to see with these dust conditions. Of course, the track surface is not particularly warmed up to its peak, so but these track conditions have such a high demand for these track conditions. And then qualifier, like I said right there, will be starting. Oh, and Palmer, oh, he's just gone into the back of him. Oh, and I think, am I stuck? Oh, do I get this? Do I get to do it? Right, so now 10 minutes of qualifying here at Bathurst. Only you could really get about is just about 2 flying laps if you do pit early on in this qualifying session. And so Tice will lead them off with the number 7 of James Head behind. I believe that is the 95 of Swift right behind James. And yes, indeed, it is Swift. So some of these guys electing to get cleaner air. And look at the pack that a lot of these guys are going for here for this qualifying session. And you got Swift. James had actually running a bit of traction control. Viper and Splash kind of tandeming together with the two Mercedeses in the middle of the pack. Thunder's SDM Carbon R in sixth, but he wants to be up at the top, and that's where he's going to be really wanting to be. Then there's SMM Uray in the 77. Of course, these Audis, I've been told that they're not quick in the straight, but they should be quick up in the mountain section. But I think with the lack of passing ability in the mountain section, that these Audis might be having a little bit more of a more difficult time here in this race. There is Cabales in the 46, of course representing the Speed Eagles division of the KRT SE division. And you've got Palmer and then T5 Black, who are going to be at the back of the field, just kind of letting the rest of the field do their own thing. You know, going to burn up the fuel. I'm going to see how things do shape on out. And so now we're going to go back, turn our eyes back to the front of the field where we got the 78 of Tice, who's going to be starting the first of many flying laps. Of course, 10 cars taking today's start of the race. And hopefully we can keep that number to the end of the race, unlike last time where we only had 9 start but only 7 finish the race. And so Tice will lead them off, but look at the train of cars that are going to be following this pack here. Keep an eye out for Uray. Go on board with him. Of course, up into 5th gear, we're close to the supercharged batteries thing. But this straightaway should kind of help with these Audis in the slipstream. Drop it down a gear, maybe even or 2. Just to make the corner. Oh, this uphill section feels very slow if the car doesn't get the power output that you need it to. So it could feel like an eternity just to get the power delivering on some of these cars. Take a rise up to Swift, his teammate. Oh, he's just very, very close to that wall. And he's really pushing. Oh, he's actually gone a bit wide and into the grass. So you can just see how much Swift is really trying to push, even though it is the first of many hot laps to come. And I feel like he's going to try and pit for some fresher rubber to get a little higher up the field than he would like to try, if possible. Going to flip that to variable over. Oh, he's actually hit the wall again. So these Audis are really struggling a little bit, I think, on the grip side of things. You know, little tweaks of oversteer, but I think it's really costing him. He's actually looking back in his rearview mirror to see that there is a 66. There is a Savage Bear in his rearview mirrors, kind of following him through to the chase. So we'll turn our eyes back up to the front of the field where we'll have the first of many hot laps to come. So Tice will set the benchmark, but what will it be is the question for the 78 Mercedes. And it's going to be a 201.823 for the man in the 78. James had 202.680. He's not had a particularly good lap. Swift, even worse a lap. Viper up into 2nd place, and Splash up into 3rd. Carbon R with a 202.5. Uray with a 201. So a really good showing for Uray, unlike his teammate, who is all the way down in 7th place. Cabales going up into 4th place. What can Palmer and T5 Black do is the question. Palmer going to come to the line, and will it be a pole position? Yes, it will, by a whopping 0.6 of a second. T5 Black, though, 201, and even goes better than Palmer to a 201.094. And what a showing for T5 Black in the Team Simpat Racing crew, the championship leader, showing the rest of the field what he can do in this Chevrolet Corvette C7 GT3R. A little bit down on his lap, but I think that these guys are going to all come in for their pit stops to get one better flying lap out of all of their machines. Looking down the order, I'm not seeing any incidents whatsoever, so it looks like the Mercedes are looking very strong here today. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th they occupy. But the mid-engine power of Uray only in 5th place, and I thought that 3rd place position was very, very good, but I guess it wasn't quite good enough. And Tice has just not had a good lap this time by 1.5 seconds off the pace. He must have had, yeah, look at that. He hasn't had a particularly great second sector. And so that's going to be quite interesting to take a look at. Will he come in for fresher rubber this time by? No. He is going to stand out. Oh, no, never mind. He's going to make it into the pits, whereas James Head, I believe, is going to come on out, and Swift all the way down to 10th. He will come in, and we're starting to see a lot of people coming into the pits. Carbon are going to be one amongst those that are going to stay on out. James Head improves up into 8th place. Carbonar hasn't had a good lap, and now that's a good lap with a 2:01.5, but is only half a second off of T5 Black. And he's going to keep on going. So some of these guys are electing to take fresher rubber for only one flying lap. Palmer going to be one of those gentlemen, and as well as T5 Black. So I don't know. Carbon R, I think he's kind of relying on the race pace to see if he can try and get further up the field if he can. And T5 Black in and out just as quick as clockwork. And so now he will be on his way for one final flying lap. I thought the whole field would be coming in for the pit stops. It's very interesting to see that actually a couple people were actually going to elect to stay on out and get some more flying laps in. So that's going to be interesting as well. I believe Viper was one of those cars that did pit. Yes, it is. Viper is one of those cars that did pit. And Swift. Oh, my goodness gracious, Swift. And Swift all the way down in 10th. So for a driver that actually finished on the... for Swift... Oh, he's actually got a penalty to make it worse for himself as well. So for Swift, who got the pole position in Tier 1 last time by, is all the way down in 10. That's not good news. Oh my Jesus, good grief. Sold up very, very rapidly. Yeah, he's trying to flash the lights. Bit of contact right there. Oh my goodness gracious me. Something you don't want to have happen if you are the 95 of Swift. But we will have some guys that are going to be coming through for the start of their final laps. James Head going to start his final lap of the session. And a lot of people are going to be coming through for their final laps as well. Carbon Art improving to a 2:01.2, but is only a 10th and a half off of T5 Black. So he's got a bit of pace to go in that Lexus. Cabala is in to 7th place. So a small improvement, but I don't think it made a change in position, I'm pretty sure. And so this is not good news if you are the number... Oh, he's actually fastest in Sector 1 over the, I assume, Corvette of T5 Black or the Lexus of Carbon R in 3rd. Oh, yellow flag. Someone is around. And who did go around is the question. And that is the Lexus of Carbon R. Did he just park it up? Take a look and see what happened. Oh, can we able to get another look at that if possible? Oh, Overseer. Oh, and that's ended his session. And that is it for Carbon R in the 34. Bit early on the throttle. Yeah, you can see the damage, the paint scuff, the paint marks, the scuffs of Bathurst. And just like that, it's just to show you how dangerous Bathurst could be at times. And another yellow flag, and that's Cabales who's gone up, or has he parked it? Oh, my goodness gracious me. See if we can get another look at that again. Did he go a bit wide? Curbing. Oh, can he save it? Oh, Jesus, good grief. And he's just parked it up. Yep, and that's going to be it for Cabales. Go down to attention of James, who's actually got himself a penalty. So that will be it for James Head to end the session, but no improvement, unfortunately, for himself. Splash, improvement, yes. He goes faster. Viper up into 5th place. Tice into 4th. Swift, Yure, all making improvements on this session. Carbonar coming to the line to finish his session. kind of a mixed bag, to be quite honest with you, of a lot of people. Tice, Palmer missing out. But what is T5 Black in the bag? Can he go a bit faster? No. And so T5 Black, the man you don't expect to be up in there in qualifying, has gotten his first pole position of the season. Can you believe that? Who is that going slow? That is Cabales, and I think he's realized he's got to actually end the session. And so we'll go down who got improvements. No improvements for our top three. Tice improves to a 201.267. Viper improving to a 201.624. Ure improving to a 201.655. 31,000 separate between the 66 and the 77. Splash improving to a 201.919. Cabales not improving this time, but his last lap did improve. Swift, it did improve to a 202.2. But for the man who got pole position last time out at Suzuka, is only starting 9th. That's a big shocker for the Audi. And then James Head, unfortunately, starting all the way in the back of the grid. Keelan saying no stream in Tier 2. My Wi-Fi isn't good enough to stream. Big issue because the competition is always good in Tier 2. Am I going to have to do a couple after race streams here today to get those guys caught up in Tier 2? Someone will have to upload a replay from there. But we got qualifying here finished, and now we got the race. T5 Black and Palmer make up the first row. Carbonara and Tice in row 2. Viper and Ure in row 3. Splash and Cabales in row 4. And then Splash and James Head will round out the grid here today. And so we got this nice camera shot. When does the red lights, the 3 red lights come on? When do they go off is the question. The revving of the engines are up. Now it's green flag conditions. Let's take our eyes off the front of the field as you can see them coming to the start-finish line. Palmer actually getting a great start and actually jumping T5 Black to the first corner. And a lot of side-by-side action. And Splash going a bit too wide. All the way down in 9th place. Swift not even getting a good start. And he's already gone down to last place. And Eric and Carbonara qualified 3rd, all the way down in 6th place. Viper up into 4th place, Ure up into 5th place. Oh, it's so antsy here on cold tires, and Tice going a bit wide, and Viper up into 2nd place. Was there a bit of forcing off by the 78 is the question. Oh, a bit bumped wide. So that was going to be the door opening for the number 66, who's up in the order and is right behind the 24 of Palmer right now. And that's a good start that he needed right there. Oh, I can just see how close you have to run to these walls. The hometown hero, Carbonara, all the way down to 6th place, and you don't want to put it off the track just as easily. And this is going to be one of those more diminutive courses where you don't want to force an issue. Just to give you an idea on how close to these walls are running. Oh, he's actually hit the wall, unlike Carbonara, who's hit the wall. Oh, Cabales thinking about making a move on the inside, but I think he was a bit too far off to make that move stick. Oh, and a lot of wall banging, and Splash and James hit her side by side. Can we get a replay of that, please? Oh, just graced the wall right there for the number 7. Oh, Jesus, good grief. And a lot of action going on here at the back of the grid. We'll turn our eyes back up to the front of the field where it is Tice and Viper side by side, and Tice is going to get the better of the 2. T5 Black, nowhere to go. The hangback Carbon are actually going wide. He spun in, kept it. Oh my goodness gracious me. And Cabales is going to make that move very, very easily. And Carbonara is going backwards rather than forward. James Head and Splash side by side. But I think James Head is going to get the better of the 2. Palmer leading them off. Tice making it a 1-2 for the Simax Junior team in those Mercedeses. Going to go on board with the Corvette of T5 Black, the big 5.5 liter V8 supplied by General Motors. Going to go on the outside. Oh, he's actually kind of left the door open. Oh, and he's going to dive it. Oh, he wants to be a bit careful. Oh.
Really?
And that was a bit of a forceful dive by the Corvette of T5 Black, and that's allowed Ure to come back up into 4th place. So I'm not sure what the proposition on that is going to be right there for T5 Black. He knows he's fighting for a championship and wants to get up there as quick as possible. And now he's got the number 78 of Tice ahead of him. Go back to the back of the field a little bit, where we got Cabales and Carbonara in 6th and 7th place. Swift getting back up into 8th place. And then James Head and Splash making up the rest of the grid there. Oh, and that's a big spin for Swift at the top of Skyline. And then it's going to be, and that's a massive moment.
Cheap racing. Cheap racing right there. Cheap racing.
And he forced it. Oh, big. Oh, Jesus.
Thanks.
And I was hearing that there was, a bit of argy-bargy going on between. And so we'll see what happened right here. What's happened between Swift, Viper, and Yurei.
Yeah, copy.
Oh, Yurei. Oh, my goodness gracious. Oh, Yurei having a spin as well. So it's all gone to shambles in the second lap for both Simax Audis. And I don't think you can really put Viper at blame for that incident, to be quite honest with you, because it's one of those courses where you don't have a lot of runoff, and you just got to stick with what you got. And Yurei all the way down in 10th place. And so these Audis just have not had the best of luck, even at all, within 5 laps.
That T5 lap actually punts me in the wall second lap.
Keelan saying, love it when CJ does well and it destroys me when it goes against him. Nothing that you could have done there for both parties. Yeah, it was just, like I said, racing incident. I highly agree with you, Keelan, on that note as well. And the Simax Audi is unfortunately not doing particularly well at the moment. Cabales has actually fallen way behind in 7th place. So what's happened there? It looks like we might have missed the incident, but I think it might have been something to do with Carbon R's, who's now gotten back up into 5th place. Viper just kind of in cruise mode at the moment, of course, less than 4 seconds behind these top guys. And then T5 Black has got by the 78 of Tice, and he's got his sights set on the race leader of Palmer. Oh, good grief myself. Just has to come to show you how on the limit that these guys have got to push to remain consistent here. And Yurei I feel bad for the man, because it's like he was leading, he was up in a very prime position, was qualified decent, and then got up a couple of grid spots, and then just all of a sudden the Audis have just it's just not worked. Oh, and Tyson T5 Black, Tice making the wise move to hang back. I think a little harder on the brakes. You can see with the red glowing brake discs. The brake bias more on the front. And I think Viper's just kind of hoping that these guys are going to fight with each other to try and get himself back up into prime contention, and that's Savage Racing number 66. Very interesting stuff going on up and down the field. Of course, some racing action, hard fought, some action, of course, catastrophic, but I think it's going to deliver all of that with about an hour and 23 minutes left to go. This is a 90-minute race, just to let you know. It is, so there is a lot more time on the race clock to consider. So a lot for race strategy to play here today.
I just got bullshittingly handled with in the second lap in the race.
Viper, a bit of frustration I could tell from the cockpit of that Mercedes.
Goes sideways, and I had no other choice but to just run like the side of me. I was going to do brake check everyone and just cause a massive pileup? Absolutely not.
Swift with a 1.4 second penalty. You can just see how frustrating it must be for the Simax Audi crew, who have got the racing gist together, but unfortunately it just hasn't fallen in their favor whatsoever, unfortunately. It's just, and James Head he's gone off, and he's hit the wall, but he's kept it on, safely rejoined, and kept the car straight. So a good save for James Head. On board now. Well saved by James Head. We'll do one more look. I keep missing these on-track moments. He's actually clipped the inside wall, and it's just well held by James Head. And so all of a sudden, he's already back down in 8th place after running in 6th place. And now he's got this 95 of Swift right behind him as well. Palmer still has a 1.3 second lead over the 79 Corvette of T5 Black for Team Simpact Racing. And he has been nothing less than a thorn up the bootay of the whole Sidemax crew. And just to add further insult to injury, getting the fastest lap of the race with a 2-minute .856. So he's really establishing a gap to the number 78. And while all this is happening, this is allowing the number 66 of Viper to close on up. I'm hearing that there's been an incident for the number 78. And we'll see what's happened here. Has he gone off into the... I thought something happened. I just wanted to double check. So right now it's just kind of like a fair bit of action going on. Action right there, like I said. Oh, a really big close-up shot of Cabales in the 46, fending off the number 11 of Splash. The Aston Martins seem a bit more nimbler around here than the Mercedes do. Heard there's a penalty being assigned for something. I'm going to see what the issue with that is. And what's happened to Carbonara? What's happened to him? He's had a very, very slow lap. Did I miss something? What happened to Carbonara? Oh my goodness gracious. You... what? I have no idea what happened to the 34 Sidewinder Racing by SDM entry, but all of a sudden the hometown hero is just... it's going backwards. Another casualty here at Mount Panorama. He's actually going to serve his penalty in the mountain section just to get it over with. Something had to happen, because that's a very slow lap, a 2:27. Not particularly sure what's happened there, but a lot has happened, I can tell you, in a short period of time. T5 Black now starting to get a bit closer to Palmer's real estate. And so now this is going to be extremely, extremely close here today. Oh, Palmer getting a bit on the grass, which is something you don't want to do. Of course, Mercedes looking very strong here today. Slowly catching tice is the key term for Viper as he's trying to get by to the number 78 to get his first podium of the season. And look at this gap now, 8/10 the difference between the last time we saw it. Now all of a sudden it's only 4/10 and decreasing. Keep our eyes now on the number 79 of T5 Black. And like we said, 90-minute race here today. Feels like an endurance race a little bit compared to our 60-minute sprint races that we have normally. T5 Black being extremely careful with those very worn Michelin compound tires. And so the Team Simpact Racing crew going to give it everything that they've got here today. So the gap now only down to just a mere number of tenths between the top two leaders, with almost a 1/6 of the way, 1/6 of the way through this running of the SRS GT3 series live at Mount Panorama for round number 6 in the Tier 1 division. And look at extremely, extremely antsy here today. Neil Palmer saying, come on, Palmer, let's get another win. And then go, Palmer. Oh, and look at this T5 Black going to force a move on the inside at Griffin's corner. And what a well-executed move for the 79 of T5 Black to get that race lead on lap number 7. And so how will Palmer respond is the big question for the Sidemax crew. And I'll tell you what, Palmer originally being classified as the part of the junior team, but now this season he has come to play, and a lot of pressure now on his shoulders. Oh, he's actually knocked the wall. We'll get another look at that again, but that looks very, very hard from his impact. Curbing, yep. Oh, it looked a lot less in the cockpit, but that was a pretty hard knock in that 24. And T5 Black looks to be establishing quite the gap here today. So our pole sitter might be converting that hot lap pace. Oh, he's actually hit the wall, and that's going to drastically slow him up. And Palmer going to be looking to get on for the race lead. How will Palmer close on up? That Corvette looking mighty fine in a straight, but as you get up to the final gears, that slipstream going to close these two on up. Palmer actually going to sit behind the number 79. Not force an error out of these two. And Palmer, that's a very interesting strategy to sit right behind the Team Simpact Racing crew of T5 Black. Oh, and I think that's someone that just went around is the big question. Oh, and that's an incident for the number 66 of Viper. So what's happened to him? Oh, AstroTurf. Oh my goodness me, and I just farted, unfortunately. And so that's cost him a fair bit of time. You can see the damage on the front end of that number 66. And he's got the number 46 of Cabales, who's not even that far off as well. That's given Tice a pretty comfortable gap in third place. And it looks like Yuri has gotten himself back up into 8th place. So his Swift had another terrible lap from somewhere. Yes, he has a 2:18. So his Swift, he's actually on pretty newer rubber. Did he actually pit? Oh, yes, he did. Outlap. Yeah, he did come into pit after a 15-minute first stint. And so I'm kind of wondering how Swift is going to go out and about in that 95. What's the gap now between Palmer and T5 Black? Only still 0.5 of a second. So I think T5 Black and Palmer are going to be trying to cozy it out together here for this running. And so Palmer going to still stay behind the number 79, hitting the chase on the 8th lap of this race. Field's kind of spread out at the moment, I'd say, but not a whole lot happening at the moment. Any other battles going on at the moment? We got this battle going on for the top 5 between Splash and Cabales. Splash going to try and force a move onto the inside. No, he's going to still stay behind the number 46. I think that number 66 is somewhat gaining and somewhat losing time. It's kind of like a mixed bag of consistency for the number 66. And Yuri actually to come into the pits for the Sidemax crew here. And so that's going to be pit stop number 1 for this Audi crew. And I think those rear tires are looking absolutely shot. And so Audi back out and about, going to be coming right alongside the Lexus. Actually, it's going to be coming just right ahead of the Lexus. Did Eric make a pit stop is the question. I want to say he did, but I don't think he actually did, but I could be wrong. This battle's still up at the front for T5 Black and Palmer, still going at it here for these guys. Going to go look back from T5 Black on to Palmer. T5 Black nailing in some very consistent and very quick lap times here at the moment. Palmer a little bit hard on the brakes, getting a worse exit than the Corvette of T5 Black, but he's got this long Conrad straight to go to the chase. T5 Black going to hang to the left side of the course to try and defend for that inside of the chase. Through the kink, and then to the chase for the hard braking. Palmer going to close on up. No, it's going to be a little dicey between these two. But it's looking very, very spicy indeed here for another going. We're going to take you on board now a little bit for Palmer on T5 Black, trying to maintain the gap. Palmer's actually starting to save a little bit of fuel, so I think he's going to try and overtake T5 Black in terms of pit strategy by trying to take less fuel than the number 79. Was that Viper that had a small little miscellaneous incident going out of the final corner? Oh, just a bit too deep for the number 66. T5 Black still setting purple sector lap times, still setting purple sectors. So T5 Black looking at very, very form. And I do apologize for that background noise. I think there was some mowing going on at the moment. Just imagine it's the in-game airplane noise. It's an in-game airplane noise. Sorry, I'm getting too sidetracked here at the moment. Oh, T5 Black racing that rear wing on the left side as he comes through the mountain section here. Oh, another hard knock for Palmer, and that's not going to help out his cause to get a little closer to the 79 of T5 Black. And this is not... If Palmer keeps this up, he doesn't want to... He can't keep hitting those walls out of fear that he's going to lose the slipstream, and then T5 Black all of a sudden is just going to walk on the whole entire field here today. So Palmer's got to do the right thing, keep with the gap, and see for how long he can maintain it, and hopefully he can get an overtake done on the 79 via pit strategy. Tice at the moment still enjoying a very quiet third place in that 78. Of course, haven't been able to score a podium at all this season, but wouldn't he love it to get his first podium here of the season at one of the most demanding circuits on the whole SRS GT3 series calendar. Viper in 4th place for his best results so far. Cabales, what's happened to Cabales? It looks like he's had a fair bit of an incident of some sort, either on the last lap or this lap. So he's all the way down, he's down in 6th place right now. But something has happened to the 46. That's now Splash. Oh, Tice actually did come into the pits for an early stop. I assume 20 minutes elapsed on the calendar, or on the clock, I should say. Kabbalah is also going to come into the pits. I think the tire wear might be finally giving up even before the fuel strategy even has to really start playing a factor. Flash work with me. And I like with you. You're going to run, just push me. And so now the number... Looks like the 66 and 11 are kind of having to work with each other at the moment to try and maintain the gap a little bit.
I'm going to pit on this lap.
And so 66 is scheduled to come in for its pit stop, which is going to be interesting to see how that does play out. It looks like he has a little bit of fuel, but I think the tire wear really fades away as soon as you get to the low limit on fuel, and that exactly is a reason to come into the pits. You're starting to really feel the edge of your grip. The tires are starting to fall off, and you can see now, even on low fuel, oh, it looks like Splash it looks like he must have got into the wall a little bit as well. What's the gap now between T5 Black and Palmer? That's actually expanded quite a fair bit, and I say that now because it's starting to come back down a little bit as well. I think that Corvette might not be quick in the straight compared to the Mercedes, but when it comes to the cornering capabilities, you know that Corvette is going to be mighty quick, and he could possibly save a bit of fuel if he's behind the 24 of Palmer. But what's the fuel situation like? I think T5 Black's going to have to take just a tad more fuel than the 24, but the real big question is to see if they will come into the pits this time by. T5 Black going to make the move over to the left-hand side. Will Palmer do the same? Yes, he will. So our two race leaders going to come into the pits for the first stop of the race. About an hour, 7 minutes to go left on the race clock. And so what's the situation between Viper and Splash? Oh my goodness gracious me, you don't want to do that if you're Viper. And then Splash... What? Wait, what?
Damn.
Wait, what?
That comes up sooner than you think.
Wait a second. Oh, it's actually spun the car around.
You good?
Oh my, oh my goodness me. You can't even make this up. Oh my goodness gracious. And so now in, and we hit the replay, so I think it's going to be quickly on out. Fuel going in, and just like that, he's magically reappeared to 99 liters of fuel. And that is not good news. And he lost a considerable amount of time, and so that's not what you want to have happen if you are the number 11 of Splash in that Falcon Mercedes. Carbonara filling up his fuel tank and taking fresher rubber for the second stint of the race. Swift now running along. Of course, I think he did pit a little earlier than a lot of these guys. So if he has the advantage to get fresher rubber every time, most of the guys don't be able to pit. Should be interesting to note that as well. Keelan saying synchronized SDM. I think they're trying to work in tandem with each other to see if they can get a valuable points haul today. They're one of the few drivers that have not had the best of luck at all this season compared to their Tier 2 teammates in the hands of Doug and Hairraiser. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with about an hour, 5 minutes to go. Did Cabala's come in for this next stop? For this stop is the question. He pit one lap earlier, so and the penalty I don't think is going to help out Viper's cause in any way whatsoever. Viper just taking it nice and easy here. Where he's got the number 46 of Cabales to fight it on out with. So Cabales and Viper still only 8/10-ish just. And so now it's going to be interesting to see how this does play out. Now keep in mind, Ure ahead did elect to pit a couple laps early. So that's helped them get up. Actually, look at the fuel difference between Viper and Ure. It's almost like a half a tank less. So is Ure playing, I think, do these Audis go extremely quick on their fuel? Because if that's the case, then they could spend more time, you know, pitting for fresher rubber, not putting as much fuel in as the rest of the competition. I don't know how that's going to pan out because I've never seen such a. If that's what Simax's strategy here today with that Audi is, I'm really intrigued to see how it goes because in my mind I keep thinking, oh, it's like there's no way. It's like there's no way they're gonna be able to, like, you know, get the pace going. But if they're taking considerably less fuel than everyone per stop, and even though it's a lot more stops, I'm intrigued to see where this goes for Simax Audi. Now we got about an hour-ish left or so to go on ahead. And Keelan, if you are listening to me, buddy, if you could do me a solid and get Tier 2 results for me and provide them to me by the 1 hour mark, I will read them out and aloud for everyone listening at home. And so I greatly appreciate if that was the case, that could happen. So yeah, Keelan, if you're listening to me, bud, get me Tier 2 results and publish them by the time remaining hits 1 hour. And so I will read them out and aloud for everyone at home listening. And it looks like Palmer did get by the race-leading Corvette of T5 Black. And so Palmer back out in the lead. And now all of a sudden, we got ourselves another race here for the lead at the around the Mount Panorama circuit. Gonna go on board with the Corvette of T5 Black. I don't know why I'm looking back is the big question. Well, we're gonna do this. Unplug that, and I'm reinstate that. Right, now does it work is the question. No, what am I doing here? I can't. Look, back? What? Oh, that's... Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. That's gonna be... I'm not even holding the back button. What? Hang on. We're gonna do this. Oh, there we go. Oh, look at the slipstream by... Oh, I'm not even catching that. Oh, he's actually gonna let off. Oh, it sucks that we can't get right. Oh, Jesus. Good grief. Is my keyboard broken? I'm gonna be... I'm not online watching this. Ah, I see. Gotcha, Keelan. I understand you, Matt. Okay. I see you. So I guess we're not able to provide Tier 2 results of any kind at the moment until we're able to get ourselves going for the end of this race. And it has been quite the doozy one, with the dust conditions providing quite a challenge here for these competitors. Very interesting to see how all does indeed pan on out. T5 Black's having some purple sectors at the moment while still being right up the chuff of Palmer. Ty's still uncomfortably enjoying himself third. It's kind of like he's just enjoying his vacation time around here at Bathurst, you know, kind of just doing time trial mode at the moment, I'd say. Got the two Audis of Swift and Ura. Swift, who's still got that 2-second time penalty, and I don't think he's really trying to serve it, to be quite honest with you, because I think he knows if he loses it, he's going to lose a bit more time to the guys behind. So I think he's just trying to minimize the time loss and would rather serve that penalty closer to the end of the race, no matter how big it would be by any chance. What's the deal with Viper? He's got himself a 4/10 penalty. He's actually still maintaining that 1.3 second gap over Cabales, which is very good for himself because he wants to keep Cabales at an arm's length and not give him the slipstream, or as he likes to call it, the suck. And so Viper still leading, still in just outside the top 5 by 3-ish seconds or so, with Ure a little bit ways up the road. Palmer and T5 Black still trying to go at it. And it looks like T5 Black might be saving a bit of fuel, because I think they realize that's what it's come down to in terms of actual strategy here. And there it is again, Swift coming into the pits for another pit stop here for the 95. And is it going to be 6-stop strategy? Or, yeah, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that 4-stop strategy for the Audis here today? If that is the case, then bugger me. Good grief. Oh, and the lawnmowers have come back. Oh no, not the lawnmowers, the airplanes. Just imagine it's an in-game airplane that is going on inside this realm of virtualness. We haven't been keeping our eyes on the number 7 of James Head, who's been really doing his own thing this race, just kind of just pacing himself at the moment, trying to get further up the field if he can. And so it is going to be interesting to see how this does pan out for the number 7 of James Head. Oh, is that Viper who's taken to the skyline? Yes, it is. He's had to cut the course a little bit because I think it looked like his car was just understeering. Oh, yeah, and that's a reason. Oh my goodness gracious me. And is that going to give him a bit of a penalty is the question. And now all of a sudden you got the Aston Martin right there, who's not that far on off, making the move. What I'm gonna do is turn off my controller and turn it back on again, see if that does fix the issue. Oh, and a bit of a dive for Viper to get back up into 5th place, and what a move that is for Viper to get back up into 5th place just as quickly as he lost it. And that's the type of fighting spirit that Viper needs. Yuri comes into the pits for another pit stop, and what I'm going to do real quickly is just turn off my controller and get it back on, so see if that will make things work. Alright, let's see now if that does anything. No, it does not do anything. What am I doing wrong? Hang on, we're going to do this. Yes, we're going to do this. And he's got his side max companion Yuri ahead of him, also after pitting. Swift gonna make the move to the inside. Please don't hit each other off the course, please. Thank goodness me. Yuri having to give a lot of room to Swift, but Swift a little bit antsy on that car. Stop going wide there is the thing for Viper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to see if backing out will actually kind of fix the problem. No, it does not even fix the problem, so I think it might be something with my game copy. I'm pretty sure that's not allowing me to change the thing. Yeah, it's like it's like I'm locked looking backwards, and I want to look forward, but I really can't. So just gonna have to kind of suck it up and just use what I got here, unless GT Sport replay decals. So I'm going to see if I could be able to fix this is the question. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I just had to press the down key. So now we got ourselves... Oh, and that's a... I think we just missed it for the lead side by side. Well done on the overtake there, T5 Black, to get back into the race lead. James said, I'm pretty sure we did see going into the pits. Yes, he is on his outlap now, so should be good to the end there at the moment. Carbonara, unfortunately, still all the way back down in last place. It's just falling apart for him. It's like I thought he'd be up there, but it's like, how could it go so wrong so quickly for Carbonara in that number 34? These two guys still going at it. And I thought I was seeing a bit of argy-bargy going on in the mid-pack between Cabales and Viper. Of course, these two have had quite a history with each other going back to round one. Of course, that incident not being very, very well handled for Viper. Of course, getting himself a race ban literally on the second round of the season. And now Cabales is going to go back at it again for the 4th place spot. Of course, Viper going to move over to the left, I'm sorry, for defending to the chase. Side by side, Viper keeping his elbows out and getting ahead of the number 46. Oh, Viper a little antsy on the curbing, and it somehow still keeps it, but he's got himself a 1.8 second penalty, which he will have to serve later in this running. Cabales, I believe, yeah, he does not have a penalty, so this is going to be very good for Cabales, and Viper got to do the really hard thing and try and serve that penalty as much as he can. I'm not sure if that was for when he cut that skyline after having that big incident. I'm pretty sure. And it's actually interesting to note that the top 6 guys are all front-engine cars, and then 7th, 8th, and 9th are all mid-engine cars. So mid-engine clearly not the way to go here on this platform. And then Eric just still all the way down in 10th place. Just, it's been a difficult day for a couple of these guys, but not a difficult day for if you are in the top 3 of this running. And if you're up in there in the running, you pretty much have had a perfect race thus far. We haven't even hit the halfway mark of this race. T5 Black, oh, very hard on the brakes out of the final corner. Oh, he's actually gone too hard, and he's gone in the grass, and that's allowed Palmer to get back up into the race lead. So we'll take a look at what happened right here. Oh, yeah, very, very late on the brakes, understeering. And then he actually was fine, but he just got it on the grass, and that's what really just set him lights ablaze here. And now all of a sudden we got ourselves the number 24 up into first place once again. So what I'll do now is we'll, not just yet. So Viper still has that penalty to serve, and he's still fighting it out with Cabales for that 4th place position. Splash not even that far off, just above a little over 4 seconds the gap between himself and his fellow SDM teammate Viper, even though they're not running in the same organization as one another, I'd say. And he's got Cabales up ahead of him in 5th place as well. Swift in 7th place, Ure in 8th place. So Palmer, T5 Black. Oh, T5 Black actually falling back just a hair or two, because now all of a sudden between just a little under 0.6 of a second, and Palmer's starting to build that gap back up a little again, which is going to be interesting. And if you are the Palmer family, I'm waiting for all those Go Palmer comments in the live stream chat. Because, of course, this is very, very much what the Palmer family would love to see, is their son taking it to the championship where, and Palmer is going to be on a man of a mission here to get back into the race, into the championship league here with this round and 3 more to go. T5 Black still hanging on into the 2nd place spot, not letting any grasp of Palmer get away from him if he can get it. And Cabales has actually dropped back a little bit from the number 66. And Ty's actually going to come into the pits for another pit stop. And I believe Viper going to go for one more lap. Cabales is going to go out for another lap. Splash going to go out for another lap. Swift and Ure, of course, making their pit stops early on in the running. But I think those 2 guys will be bound to pit pretty soon anyway. Palmer, T5 Black still going at it. Oh, and it's literally only about 2 tenths between these 2 guys still, and nothing is going to separate these two. These guys, they know the risks that they're playing, and they're playing it extremely well. It's like a really well thought out chess game to eliminate all the pawns and see which is the last one standing out of that whole chessboard, I'd say. Sharon Palmer saying, "Go on, Palmer." That's the "Go on, Palmer" comment I was waiting for to hear. So, of course, given all the hard work and attention here, I think Viper just had himself a nearly nasty incident here. We'll take a look at it again from the driver's eye. Was it coming through the corner right here? Curving? Yes, it was. Oh, big moment for the 66. And almost another one for the 66 as well. Trying to keep it on the track, of course. He wants to complete the stint on a very, very good note. He's up into 3rd place at the moment, but if he can get by the 78 of Ty's on pure race strategy, This would be very interesting. Oh, I heard a lot of tires squealing. I think that was because of the number 46 of Cabales. What the heck happened here? Or was that the number 11? Was that the number 11? About to find out. T5 Black into the pits. Oh, it was the number 11 of Splash that did have that little incident. T5 Black, his fuel's going in now. I can actually see how much fuel he's going in. He's going to go with 57 and still in the pits, and then it's going to magically appear him on out. Well, he's actually filled up to a full tank, but he's got himself a whopping 2-second penalty. What has happened to the 79? He's going to serve the penalty now while he's got the chance. So that's going to give Palmer a bit of breathing room. And I think T5 Black is going to try and use that race pace to his best of abilities to get back up to that race lead, because I think he knows he could win this race if he's got the pace to do it. Viper and Splash trying to stretch out their fuels to one extra lap over the number 46 of Cabales, who I think is their only guy that they're trying to race now on pure pace. And so now if you are the 66 or the 11, trying to get your mindset ready to go for the pit for the third time in this running. You can just tell the tire degradation in these cars is by far some of the highest that we've seen all season long. Of course, Suzuka had pretty high tire degradation as well, but that was only a 60-minute race. This is a 90-minute race, and the track conditions are literally at dusk, so the sun's starting to rise up. There's not a lot of grip on the track surface, so cooler climates means somewhat cooler track conditions, and it's not helping these guys whatsoever. Palmer coming into the pits now for his third stop of the day. We've just hit the halfway mark of this course. Where is the Corvette of T5 Black is the question. He's rounding the final corner now, and he's going to come across the start-finish straight. He's actually going to take, remember, he did take a full tank of fuel, is the big question. And Palmer, is he going to come out, is the big question. He's actually going to come out alongside the number 24, and this is going to be a drag race, and Palmer going to get the better of T5 Black just. And that's exactly what you needed if you are the number 24 of Palmer. T5 Black showing the bright lights. And it's not going to face Palmer any bit whatsoever. The 66 and the 11 of Viper and Splash are going to be coming into the pits. Ooh, a bit of wheel spin for the 66 coming out of the pit lane. So, of course, it is a bit slick out there, considering it is on cooler track climate. So these guys gonna get a really nice benefit for their pit stops. Cabales, did he pit? Is the question. No. Oh, what the heck? Why is Cabales taking less fuel? Has he really botched up that strategy? If that is the case, that's gonna be very interesting to note to see if Cabales really did botch up the strategy. So I'm kind of wanting to see how things will play out here. You got the Cymax crew who are going to be coming into the pits for, I believe, their fourth stop of, either third or fourth stop of the day on lap number 20. Oh, and I heard Swift squealing the life out of those Michelin tires. He's been really pushing on in that Audi. And T5 Black has got by Palmer for the race lead. And another exchange of the lead results in another fight for Palmer to try and get on by that number 79 Corvette for Team Sinpat Racing. And so what we'll do now is we'll take you to the number 66 of SC Viper. we do this every stream or so once in a while, but we're going to take you an on-board look from the driver's eye of how they handle about with Bathurst. And so we'll take you on for 1 or 2 laps of Bathurst and just enjoy the ride of the nature that is Mount Panorama at Bathurst. And so that was a lap of the Mount Panorama circuit at the hands of SC Viper in the 66 Savage Racing Mercedes AMG GT3. Of course, you did see at the as he was going downhill in the SS section, he got really loose, had to save the car. You just see how much capability that Viper of a driver really is, even though he hasn't really shown it in previous races. But I think this has been his best performance of the season so far, running in 5th place. Of course, he's got year rate in his sights not that far up. And I think it looks, did he pit not that long ago is the question. If he's trying to go the long game here, that's going to be a bit interesting at the hands of the number 77. T5 Palmer actually getting by, once again, the number 79 Corvette, a T5 Black for Team Simpad Racing. Slipstream once again, and look at the speed difference under the slipstream that the Corvette has compared to that Mercedes T5 Black. Is he going to try and force a move on the outside? He's going to keep him there, defend on the inside position. But well held for T5 for Palmer to keep that position on defending onto the inside. Defending onto the inside once again. Will T5 Black try and make a move? He's going to try it. Oh, he thought about it. Oh, and I think, was there an incident for T5 Black who got a little bit antsy on the exit of the final corner? Take a tire line. Was there an incident of any kind on the grass? Yes, there was. So T5 Black a little bit on the grass, but he's already on the back bumper of T5 Black. Can T5 Black force it on the outside is the question, and T5 Black's going to try and force it on the outside, but Palmer is going to still be there. But are they side by side is the question, and T5 Black on the outside. Oh, and I think there was contact, but T5 Black on the outside of turn 2 into the outside for turn 3. What a move that was to get that race lead back. And what does Palmer have to fire back at what possibly the most impressive overtake of this race so far for the race lead is the big question. Keelan saying Ure has recovered so well. Yeah, I haven't been kind of keeping an eye on Ure this race, but he's been really pushing the living crap out of that Audi. And it's a car that he knows super, super well. You can just see how much he's pushing in that Audi. It looks like he does you can see how much on the limit that he is in that Audi R8. Of course, it's not the Evo spec that some of these cars are starting to have, even though it is just decals, but he is running the Audi R8 LMS chassis that he has run in previous seasons, I should say. Swift aiming for that 5th position. Yeah, I think it's. I mean, oh my goodness gracious me! Turning into Swift, and all of a sudden he's going fishtailing out of the Falcon corner. Oh my goodness gracious me! Ballas has fallen back a little bit as well, and I think that was because he had to come back into the pits for not taking any fuel on that one stop, so he had to come back in again and get more fuel, and that's dropping all the way down to 9th place, well and truly out of the prime position of James had. Oh, and this is the battle we got going on right here once again with T5 Black defending from SMM Palmer. And can Palmer try and do what T5 Black did to him a lap ago? T5 Black going to cover off that line, that racing line, I should say. T5 Black well held from the 79 of T5 Black. And this has been an absolutely hard-fought race for these guys. Keelan saying Swift has grown lots of confidence over the race. Yeah, it looks like the beginning of the race wasn't a really good thing at all for the Audis, and all of a sudden they've grown the confidence, and now it's looking very, very strong for this Side Max crew here today. Of course, Tice having his best strong showing, and T5 Black dips a wheel into the grass just before Skyline, keeping that race position. T5 Black having a bit more worn tire wear than the car behind, but he's giving it absolutely everything that he's got going into, once again, Conrad Straight. Now this time Palmer's going to try and make something happen here towards the chase. And this in itself is going to be interesting to see how this will play out. Tice has had a science kind of race just on the radar. Yeah, I'd certainly agree with you on there. He's just been kind of doing his own thing for the most part this race. But Palmer now going to go try on the outside of the chase here. And what a move for Palmer! There's a bit of contact, but what a move for the 24 to take it on the outside of Chase! And that's a move you don't see done every day. So we're starting to see now between these two drivers, where we all thought the moves would be done on the inside, these drivers are starting to force the moves on the outside, and it's very much playing out here today. This is amazing stuff we're seeing going on right here. Palmer now trying to break the toe a little bit, go on to the left side of the track. Now, when's he going to move over to the right-hand side is going to be the big question. He's going to move over now just as they go up over the crest. Hard on the brakes into turn number 2. T5 Black actually looking on the outside again to try and make it work. But I think Palmer kind of had that outside line covered off somewhat, so not really able to make something work as of that. And I think Viper has got himself down to P6. So what's happened to the Viper? And I think we just missed that incident. So unfortunately for Viper, was he trying to serve his penalty is the question. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think he was going to try and serve his penalty without trying to get in the way of Splash, and Splash just said, I'm going to take that position. The gap now between Splash and Ure grown to 4.4-ish seconds or so, and just still building up that gap. Tice has now actually started to claw his way up to the front of the field, so Tice might be in the running for this battle with just a little over 30, with just under 33 minutes to go. And I was hearing a bit of action going on between these two Mercedes of Viper and Splash. And Swift is not that far off as well in 7th place, so he might be looking to get a couple of positions now, and Viper going to be understeering just a hair. And this is going to be extremely, extremely interesting to see how this does play out for these cars. Swift now, look at the fuel difference between himself and the cars up ahead. He's really trying to get up there, but I think he's going to try and make that multi-stop strategy work, because I think he is committed to it, and he will try and make it work with the ludicrous pace that he's got in that Audi R8. Tice actually going to come into the pits early with just a little over 32 minutes to go. And I believe he is going to fortify that third place position, I'm sorry, to Ure in fourth place.
Gotta try and beat him out. He's been holding up. You have to try and beat him out.
And Tice actually coming out of the pit lane now.
Come on.
And so this is not good news. And it's going to be covering off the cars behind. I'm not sure if Tice is going to try and get himself ready for another late running. Oh my goodness me, side by side through the mountain section. Oh, contact, and still side by side. This is unbelievable stuff that you never see side by side going on at Mount Panorama. There's contact going on left and right, and they're still side by side. This is unbelievable stuff that we're seeing here. G5 Black's got his nose for Skyline. I think Palmer doing the right thing and just backing out, but too wide through the mountain section. You never see that happen in sim racing, even in real life. Way too risky, but these guys, they are throwing absolutely everything on the table. T5 Black actually going a bit wide, and now all of a sudden, Palmer and T5 Black have come to play, and we're not even in the final 30 minutes of this race. Palmer making the move to the outside, waiting for the number 24 to make his presence known in the cockpit of the Corvette of T5 Black. Palmer going to try it again on the outside. T5 Black actually having to take to the curb, and Palmer again on the outside to chase for the race lead. This is amazing stuff that we're seeing between the 24 and the 79. Oh my goodness gracious me, and these guys are giving it absolutely everything they got. And keep in mind, this is second and first place in the championship, I should point out as well. So these guys, they know a lot's on stake, and even if it's only a couple of points that Palmer can make back up in the championship, those championship points could be very crucial later in the running as Viper makes his way into the pits. T5 Black now on the outside of turn number 2, and he is again gonna make it work for the outside. He's gonna have the inside for the next corner, and this is absolutely fun stuff. Palmer gonna try and force this move on the outside. Oh, and I think T5 Black is just gonna cover that line up, but man, this is a great race to be commentating on here today. It's like I expected a great race, but this is absolutely exceeding my expectations here today. This is insane stuff. And I'm quite nervous to I'm quite nervous to actually try and even get off of this battle, because there's just it's just insane stuff that we're seeing right here right about now. Viper all the way down in 8th place, where his teammate is still trying to get on out in 5th place. Ure actually very close on that fuel scenario. And so I'm kind of wondering how this will play on out, but going back up to the front of the field now, where it's 3/10 the gap, and it's starting to decrease right now. Palmer, I think, is a little too far off to make anything work, but keep in mind, T5 Black at the bend of the inside. Oh, Palmer, nothing doing, just that. He's got to sit back and behind and just wait. T5 Black, oh, you can really see how much the understeer is really playing a factor now all of a sudden with the lack of tire grip. Lack of grip now all of a sudden in those Michelin tires compared to the Pirellis of the Mercedes that Palmer is utilizing. Sharon Palmer saying great battles going on, and OMG, absolutely brilliant racing. I don't think it's brilliant racing. This is actually amazing stuff right there. Oh, and you're going to come into the pits, but Palmer now going to try on the inside. Oh, and the straight line speed of the Corvette. Oh, what is that? The number 66 of Viper having a bit of an off-road excursion. We'll take a look at that again real quickly. Oh, was he hit wide by the... Yep, understeered right on off. Oh, big moment, but he kept it on the track and just was able to do it very, very well. Swift actually going to come into the pits right now. and at the expense.
Yeah, I'm so done.
Oh, I guess you. I guess I must have missed that. And so where is the number? This has been kind of an up and down race for Viper, to be quite honest with you. If he could try and capitalize on it, if he can make one more stop work, whereas a couple of the guys have to make some of their stops as well, and Kalbal is included. Splash up in the fourth, Tice up in the third. Somewhat trying to close the gap up to the leaders, who have been absolutely fighting it ever since this race has started. And this is shaping up to be some pretty interesting post-race interviews, I'd say. And so now T5 Black gonna defend on the inside once again. Oh, make his presence. Oh, I was on board with Palmer there actually. And Palmer actually is gonna try and sit behind the number 79 of T5 Black. And I believe that is to save a bit of more fuel. Then look at the fuel difference that Palmer has got to T5 Black. So Palmer looking to try and overtake T5 Black in terms of pit strategy. And I'll tell you what, T5 Black is really starting to get a bit defensive. Oh, actually, by going on the grass, that's not going to help out his cause any bit whatsoever. And I think T5 Black, we haven't seen it at all this season, but I think this is the first race for T5 Black. Oh, he's starting to get genuinely pressured. And was that T5 Black going a bit too deep into the first corner is the big question. On board now with the 24. Oh, just no grip whatsoever for T5 Black whatsoever. I think these tires have just absolutely been run into the ground for the number 79. And now all of a sudden Palmer now back up into the lead of this race. I'm seeing a couple of position changes being made. I'm kind of wondering what the heck's going on up at the front. And Viper Cabala is going at it. Oh, and I think Cabala is just, oh, I think he was really trying to get back up. And now you got a Savage Bear looking back at the Mercedes. Going to make the move on to the inside for the position number 6. And Viper on those newer tires, going to get that position relatively easy, I'd say, over the number 46 of Cabales. Splash now going a little later on this fuel and tire scenario. What's going on with the Corvette and Mercedes of T5 Black and Palmer? 5/10 the gap. I think T5 Black is probably going to have to pit this time by if he wants any chance at trying to stay within any close approximation of Palmer, or if he could fuel save a little bit and stay behind the, yeah, that's what he's going to do. He's going to fuel save and stay right behind the number 24 because he knows he's the fastest car, but if he can keep on this train and fuel save just a little bit, maybe go one more lap, he could possibly try and do something. Palmer going to stay out, but T5 Black going to come into the pits. So this is, I think, the first time we've seen both of these guys not pit on the same lap. So this is going to make or break T5 Black or make or break Palmer. So T5 Black going to try the undercut strategy here to see how that pans on out. Of course, the fuel going into the tank, and I think T5 Black is going to be caught up a little bit with the Mercedes of both Tice and Splash coming out of the pits right now. He's going to go up into 4th place, but he is going to have 2 other Mercedes to worry about ahead of him, including the one of Tice, who I think is going to play a huge role in this final 23 and a half minutes left of this race. Pretty sure Tier 2 just finished up as well, so we got about 20 extra minutes of running to go in Tier number 1.
I'll tell you, he's going to have some struggles to do. Splash, you're going to have to do some defending on this guy. Okay.
Bit of defending work to do with T5 Black, because this, like I said, is for championship. And I'll tell you what, in terms of this championship position, this could really allow Palmer, oh, and Splash really abusing the curbing. And just really trying to make the most out of this fuel situation here that he's got going on right here. but he knows he's got a very hungry and very angry T5 Black coming down. It's gonna be like a big wild bear just coming down the Conrad Straight at full speed, just to see how this does pan out, because T5 Black, he's not racing the guys up ahead. His main competition is Palmer, and he's going to be coming into the pits, and this is going to be the pit stop that makes or break a lot of these guys. Fresh Pirelli slicks going on the 24, and the fuel going in as well. So this is going to be interesting to see. Tice Splash will come into the pits. That was a given as well. Tice, though, how will he come on out is the big question. Palmer in the pits, and now he's heading on out of the pits, and Tice now is going to lead this race for the first time here today. And I think Tice, knowing he's not really in it with a chance to win it, is going to let by that number 24 no problem, but I think he's going to make it a real headache for the number 79. And what's the 79? 2.6 seconds is the gap between Palmer and T5 Black. So the overcut strategy working better for Palmer, and T5 Black's undercut strategy not even working at all. It's actually made that gap even a bit worse. So and so now, with I think the final stops, it should be a sprint race from here on out. Of course, 90 minutes of running, and of course we get delivered 90 minutes of quality content. It's not clickbait material, thank goodness, unlike some other YouTubers. Not going to name any names, obviously, but if you're in it for just, you know, high octane racing, and I think this is quite possibly going to be the best amongst the best races of the season that we've had. That gap now starting to build up between Tice and T5 Black, but Palmer is going to be T5 Black's main attention here today. I think Yurei up into 4th place, doing very, very well.
Audi gets in front of me. I can't catch it. I don't know how.
So a bit of frustration from the number 66, but I think Yurvey's done himself very, very well to capitalize and get back up into this race running here. And so Tice now still leading the way now with about less than 20 minutes to go. And I think was at a change of position right there for the, and that's Gabala is going to come into the pits right now for, I assume, his final stop of the day. Carbonara actually getting back up quite nicely on the tail end of James Head. And James Head and Splash. Splash has got to come out of the pits and has come out ahead of the number. Is that an incident with Viper? Just want to see what's happening. Oh, understeer and into the wall. I think the understeer is starting to play a big factor for these two cars right here. And that gap now from 2.6 seconds a lap ago is now only down to just a second. So T5 Black is a man on a mission right now to try and get back up to the 24. And this, I think, is going to be one very angry T5 Black if he wants any chance of a race win here today. And that gap now just only 0.6 of a second. So T5 Black, you can just see how much of a gap he's just really closed on up. So we went from being extremely on the defense to being extremely on the offense right now. And you can see a purple sector right there. So T5 Black might even go as far as setting a sub 2-minute lap time in this race, which is, in terms of actual qualifying pace, it's just absolutely bonkers. I think Palmer might be saving a bit of fuel, actually. I think that might be an interesting to see on how that pans on out. Short shift. That's what he's doing. That's a very interesting strategy by Palmer to short shift. Yep, short shift strategy to save a bit of fuel. And so you can really see it that Palmer is short shifting. So that's going to be something of note to take into consideration as well. Give Tice a little bit of breathing room between himself and the car behind T5 Black. Yuri recovering very nicely in this race. He's just set some very fast and consistent lap times since the running. He's actually got his left-hand turn indicator on, so I'm not sure if he knows that. I think he forgot to realize that was on, so. I'm going to turn that off for a little bit. And Ty's coming into the pits like we expected. And so the message has been displayed to the car 77 that his right-hand turn indicator is on. Tyson and Viper both into the pits. And so T5 Black actually getting the better of Palmer once again. This is what we kind of expected to see with the fact that he was short shifting in this race. And it's going to be interesting to see how this does pan on out. With about 15 minutes-ish or so to go. Swift actually up into 5th place, but he will have to come into pit for one final time after running basically his best that he's able to. Splash not that far off. He will get another position to get as well. Gary is going to have to come into the pits as well. These Audis have looked mighty quick, but unfortunately not quick enough, according to T5 Black and Palmer standards. I'm not sure how Sono is going to feel about that right there. So you got very two talented drivers in the hands of T5 Black and Palmer here today, and they've absolutely shown the rest of the world what they can do at one of the most finest and most riskiest, high-risk, high-reward courses that you can come to here today. And it just comes to show you how much these drivers are willing to push and how much these drivers are willing to risk for everything here, even if it means a couple of championship points here in this sixth round of the SRS GT3 series for tier number 1. So this is absolutely the finest in this league that you can get. And you can see it. And there's Yuri into the pits like we expected to. So the Cymax crew going to go for one final stop on their Audi team here today. And so is Swift into the pits as well. Tice back up into 3rd place. And that gap now between Palmer and T5 Black actually starting to grow a little bit. So that is very, very interesting. That's very interesting to see that. That is very interesting. So that gap now between these two cars now just around about a second, but it was pretty much nose to tail for the most part of this race. So I'm kind of wondering to see why the gap now all of a sudden is that high. Pice in third place. Kind of doing his own thing still, being the Carlos Sainz of SRS. Splash in fourth place. Very good running for him today. Of course, not going to be his best result if he can keep this up in fourth place. But he will be very, very grateful that he's able to deliver it on such a good note as well. But he does have the number 77 of Ure right near his chuff. So that's going to be an interesting battle to see how things do play out. And so with about 11 minutes left to go here in this sixth round of the SRS GT3 series, it's all to gamble for and all to play for and all to keeps. Palmer getting that gap back to under a second, but just not by much. Now it's up at a second. Now it's under a second and starting to close back down a little bit. I think T5 Black was a little bit slower out of that corner. Gap now down to 3/4 of a second as they rise over the crest. I think that Corvette's looking mighty faster in the straight line here. Thought I saw another change of positions as we got Gobales and Carbonara going at it again for 8th place. I think Gobales electing to stay on out for as long as he could. Just to give you an idea, everyone is kind of really not that far off each other at the moment. The whole field was in about 47 seconds, which is actually not terrible considering it's a 90-minute race. That's actually very impressive. Whole field covered by half a tenth, which is very interesting to see. And different strategies and whatnot, a couple of incidents to be playing. Oh, T5 Black having somewhat of a big incident in this late running in the going. With about 10 minutes left to go, it literally could go anywhere in this race. Palmer, I think, in the slipstream. And so, can Palmer be able to close back up is the question. I don't think Palmer, he's not that close, but he is certainly close. So it is going to be interesting to see how Palmer goes about trying to close up to his main championship rival in the hands of the Corvette. And I'll tell you what, right now, if I were Cymax or Team Simbat Racing, I'd be absolutely biting all of my nails off my fingers right now because this literally could go any direction whatsoever. Palmer, all of a sudden, that gap went from a 1.2 second gap all that only down to about 0.5 of a second or so. And this is going to be absolutely haywire here. And like I said, this could go anywhere. This could really, really go anywhere here today. Palmer now only by 0.3 of a second. Not that far off. But he's got to make sure that he's going to get that pole man a little bit of pressure. Of course, we've seen from T5 Black, he's really starting to get defensive for that race lead because he knows he can lose that race lead as easily as he can get it from Palmer. So now we'll take our eyes back to this battle right there where Ure's not even that far off the number 11 of Splash. You can see just not even that far off, but he's not going to get him anywhere near if he's going to keep hitting that wall, unfortunately. And it's really, really close to play for if it keeps. 0.4 now the gap as they go down to Conrad for the 40th time here today on lap number 40. On board with T5 Black from the rear bumper cam, looking back at the 24. T5 Black now going to hang a little bit in the middle of the circuit. Palmer now starting to close that gap, closing. Will Palmer make a move onto the inside? He's going to sit right behind. Oh, T5 Black really hopping that curb at the chase. Two wheels. And Palmer now, is he going to look on the inside? He looked on the inside, but not going to make a move there. T5 Black actually going to make a move on himself and go into the grass, and that's allowed Palmer to take the lead of this race with about 7.5 minutes to go. I'm thinking we're going to get possibly... Oh, T5 Black really sideways there. Oh, wait. Can I? Oh, I can't get my replay anymore. Poop. Oh, at least I tried. Well, we did see that incident, but it looked extremely close between T5 Black and his tire wear is just saying, I can't do this anymore. He's really trying, and about 5/10 the gap now is going to be the big thing separating these two from one another. Cabales and Carbonar going at it for 8th place. I just spat all over my desk. Lovely. And so Cabales, I don't think, able to get the pace going. Carbonar getting that Lexus up for Sidewinder Racing by SDM up into 8th place after having pretty much spent most of this race in 10th place. And I'm not sure what's happened to James said. I think he must have had come into pit not that long ago. His tire wear is already pretty much just shot. Unless he's had a mega incident somewhere is the big question. Not 100% sure on that. And now this gap between Ure and Splash all of a sudden is only down to 7/10 of a second up in the mountain section here. This Mercedes is very good in a straight line, but I think this Audi with Ure behind the wheel has just been insanely quick up in the mountain section. And he's just been wrangling that car ever since to try and get back up into a decent position after spinning out on lap 2. Palmer and T5 Black still going at it. Palmer still leading the way after another lap away from this battle. And so it's going to be, once again, dicey with about 5.5 minutes to go. I'm thinking we're going to get possibly 3 more laps here at the Mount Panorama circuit for the 6th round of the SRS GT3 series for tier number 1. There is the battle now for 4th place. Ure now going to try and look on the inside, but Splash going to maintain his ground and his line and not allow Ure to get on by, but maybe he might be allowing to get on by with a tap on the grass. Splash now going to go on the inside to defend, but what about Ure? Is he going to try and force the move? He's not that close just yet, but Ure now going to sit right behind and let the slipstream do the work. And now Splash kind of a sitting duck, but Ure not even really closing up. Now I say that. Now he's starting to close up to the Mercedes. Ure going the outside. Can Ure make something work on the outside? Oh, he's actually understeered. It almost went into the tire wall is Ure. But the gap now still 0.2 of a second. So a lot at stake here in this round. We got 2 battles going on at the moment, one for 1st and 2nd and the other one for 4th and 5th. And so we'll keep our eyes on this battle between T5 Black and Palmer. Palmer growing that gap to almost 0.9 of a second. That's a monumental gap with only a handful of laps to go. And so we'll keep an eye on this battle once again. But this battle is the closest one we got at the moment. We got Splash and Ure still going at it in the mountain section for lap number 42. Not a lot of time for Ure to try and make a pass. Oh, and Ure and Splash giving it everything that they've got. There is the Audi. Not quick in a straight line, but he is catching just barely.
2 laps to go.
And yeah, it's definitely going to be a handful of laps to go where we got Palmer and T5 Black still a 7/10 gap. So these gaps for 1st and 2nd and 4th and 5th are starting to go back up. Oh, and caught a wheel on the curving, but Palmer really well held and kept that straight. And that would have been game over had Palmer put it into the wall. And he's giving it everything that he's got. Splash now going on the inside along the pit straight. Ure going to be alongside. Ure going to make the move onto the outside. And Splash going to hold on to that racing position. But he's got the Audi of Ure not that far off behind. And there's a lot of determination and a lot of confidence in the cockpit of that 77 Audi. Ure, who had that spin, by the way, on lap number 2, has been absolutely trying to claw his way back up through this field. And all of a sudden, oh, he tried the undercut. Go wide and then go sharp, but I think Splash well held that race car in that position, and that's how he kept that 4th place position. Very well done to Splash right there. Oh, he's actually a bit slow, and Yuri's right up on his back bumper right here, so this could be interesting going into the final lap of the race. This is the last lap of this race, I should point out. But who is on the fresher rubber is the question here. No doubt about that. It is going to be Yuri, who is going to be absolutely giving it everything that he's got in that 77 Audi. Just a lot of high-risk stuff at the moment, but we'll go back up to our attention to Palmer and T5 Black. We took our eyes away from this battle for a little bit, and these guys on the limit with fuel, so they're going to have to make one more lap stick, as well as Yuri and Splash. But what's going on between those two guys? Still 2/10 the gap. But Yuri, T5 Black not making any move just yet. But we'll keep an eye on Splash. Yuri's going to be alongside the number 11, the V10. Oh, and they've actually hit each other going through the kink to the chase. Splash going to hold on to that inside line. And Yuri going to try and force a move on the outside. Oh, my goodness me. And they somehow keep it side by side going into the final corner. Splash will have the heavy braking advantage for the inside corner. Yuri going to have to try again. He's going to force the switch back, but Splash, is he going to try and force it onto the inside? Oh, and this is absolutely fine stuff right there. But we've got this battle going on. It's the final lap of the race here right now. T5 Black and Palmer are going to conclude a very, very spicy race here today. Oh, and this is going to be insanely close. Yuri and Splash still going at it. I'll keep an eye on the mini-map for us while we can. Oh, and I think he got a little tap from behind it, Splash. And he's not even giving any bit of room for Yuri to sneak through whatsoever. And so Palmer's still trying to fend it for his life right now. T5 Black giving it everything that he's got as well. Yuri's still behind it. Oh, he almost hits the wall right there, and he's giving it everything he's got right now. And Splash is too. And wouldn't this be a well-earned 4th place for Splash if he's able to hold on here today? And now T5 Black not even going to hold back on the throttle engine, throttle of that Corvette. You can see the straight line speed of that Corvette closing. And is Palmer fuel saving? Is Palmer fuel saving is the question. He's gotten by for the race lead. But is Palmer fuel saving is the question. That is going to be a big question if he is fuel saving. I think a dive to the inside is going to have to be the cue to send it all off. A dive to the inside is Palmer, but T5 Black, oh, he's actually forced him on the grass. Oh, and he's going to let him on by. And I think he knows that is not a right thing, but T5 Black will win round 6 of the SRS GT3 series to get his 3rd win of the season. Oh, and there's a lot going on between Splash and Yuri as well. Tice is going to get 3rd place, but I'm not sure what happened right there because we're not able to get a replay function at this time, unfortunately. But Splash is going to hold on for 4th place. And Yuri running out of fuel at the line, so I don't think it would have made much of a difference. Viper coming home for 6th place. And so Swift going to come home for 7th place. Carbonar for a good recovery in 8th place. Cabales in 9th place. And then James Head going to come home to round out the grid in 10th place. Put it into the grass. Spin the car across the line. And sew it up and take the checker flag. But Palmer gave it everything that he got in that Mercedes. And I'm kind of at a loss for words right now, but for getting his 3rd win of the season, T5 Black for the Team Simpat Racing Group, getting that pole position, that fastest lap, and that all-important race win will extend his championship lead. Oh, what a you-know-what race. Paul Severa saying, "God, I made it on time to see the end. Wow, what an end! Grande para, grande." Paul, if you could see the end of that race, if you could see that whole, if you could have the time to take an hour and a half of your day and just watch the whole race, man, you are in for a treat. I will tell you what. And I've still got to get these guys in the podium. I have not been exhausted after commentary for a very, very long time. I'll tell you what right now. Getting all of these guys in the party. I don't think there's been a race that I've seen in a very, very long time where it has gone absolutely down to the wire. Palmer gave it I'll tell you what, Palmer gave it everything, and I mean everything that he had, even if it meant running out of fuel at the line. He gave it everything that he had. Yuri also ran out of fuel at the line as well. But bugger me, what a race that was. There was and Splash, I'll tell you what, that had to be a well-earned fourth place for Splash as well. He was kind of in the back of the pack for most of those races, but he was in the right place at the right time to get that fourth place and gets himself some very valuable championship points here today, as we still wait for our podium finishing player. I can't even speak anymore. For our podium finishing racers into this party here today. We're still waiting for one more. I think I'm going to have to make the party on public, I'm pretty sure, because I think Palmer, you know what I'm on about. So the party is on public, so we'll wait for our final podium person to come into the party so we can start the interviewee process. There he is right there. The Kimi Räikkönen of SRS. Oh, oh, this is where I had to leave the screen here. So we'll start off our podium interviews with the Kimi Räikkönen of the SRS League Racing Group. Tice, your first podium of the season after a rough start to the season, but you finally pull it together and get your first podium of the season in the 78. Tell us about your race today, bud.
Well, yeah, it was just a good start, and after that, there wasn't a lot to do.
You kind of basically had a pretty much quiet race. Keelan said in midstream that you were like the Carlos Sainz of the race. Would you agree on that by any chance?
Yep.
And then, obviously, one more question, of course. After the race starts that you've had this season, did you not expect to get third place today, or did you just kind of expect that it was going to be going your way by the start of the race?
I thought it was on the car, but after seeing the gap I had to Viper at the start, I definitely knew that it would be possible if I didn't hold it somewhere.
And now, this is where the podium interviews get real, my friends. We are going to start off with the man in second place, SMM Palmer, who I believe gave it absolutely everything that he gave it to get another win on the board here today. Palmer, you have got to be exhausted after this race, my friend.
Yeah, I'm quite literally shaking after that one. I really tried it at the final corner. I sort of went for the dive bomb, got onto the curb, and it spat me into T5. So, it wasn't really the cleanest ends to the race from my side. But to be honest, that has got to be one of the most hardest races I've ever had to drive. Like, even when it was just fuel saving and that, like, there was so much pressure on in that, and it was, that those last two stints, like, I felt like I just couldn't really blink, because it felt like if I just made one mistake, that would be like second place for me. I really tried it, trying to go around the outside, and of course I did manage to go around the outside of the chase, which I'm very happy about. But like every single time, that Corvette just keeps on pushing. T5 just keeps on pushing, and that Corvette is so quick in the straight line, and it's at the end, of course, I just couldn't really do anything about it. Of course, I knew T5 had to fuel save on the last stint, but I made an error and accidentally put in 10 laps of fuel instead of 11, so I had to fuel save as well, and I think that's what might have cost me the win today. But of course, congrats to T5. Yeah, I'm kind of lost for words after that one because of how awesome that race was. And halfway through, I was thinking about you, Trevor, and thinking about your voice box, because that was probably one of the best battles ever, I would say.
I'll tell you what, right now, if every single person could just, I'll say it right now, for all those that raced here today, go watch that battle. That is some of the finest racing I have ever commentated on, and I could not be more grateful to just sit down and just enjoy the heart-fought racing. And Palmer, you actually did answer my one extra question that I was going to ask you as well, was that if you put in a bit more fuel, had it made the difference? And you said yes, it would have made a difference. So, and that's pretty much, you answered pretty much all my questions right there. So, but mega stuff today, but there was one driver who took the handgun, fired the shots back from Suzuka, and he's going to win on top today. T5 Black, you have got to be exhausted too, my friend. That was a race-long duel that you had with Palmer today. Tell us about your race today.
First off, I need a new T-shirt. And second, I have a headache.
Get some water, man. I'm right there with you. I have one too.
The last thing, I didn't know. First of all, I did think it was a 60-minute race. When I see the start, it was 90 minutes. Well, fuck. Okay. Recalculate all the strategy, and yeah, and I did put amount of fuel in the last stint. So, and when I push to come up to Palmer, I all forgot about fuel saving. Yeah.
And so And so another question that I got right here: do you think the straight line speed advantage that is pretty much kind of the way to go here for Bathurst? Do you think that was the key to getting you the race win here today at Bathurst, making it a bit more easy to pass the venerable Mercedes that kind of benefited the corners a bit better today?
Yeah, they have a great corner speed. The Corvette is a bit understeer, and if you are, in the slipstream, it's way more understeer. So I had to let off the gas way early. So yeah, and the fight, I need to say the fight up on the mountain. Oof.
Well, I'll tell you what today, ladies and gentlemen, if you certainly enjoyed that race, and there's certainly no reason not to today, leave a like, leave a comment. If you want to follow us up on the remaining 3 rounds of the SRS GT3 series, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. God, I'm freaking exhausted after watching that wonderful race. I've been @C_RDZ, and if you do want to follow us up for the next race of the season, it is going to be at the Nürburgring GP. I can imagine that is going to be an exciting race as well. But ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching this live stream, if you did the race today and if you're watching the live stream, watch back the whole live stream again. It is seriously worth it, I'm guaranteeing right there. Right, I will cut the stream here, but we will be back for next week at Nürburgring, back to 60-minute format, and we'll see you guys next week for round 7 of the SRS GT3 series.